SpaceX hit new daily highs today. However, I'm concerned it might roll over. In this video, I'm going to cover my full thoughts and analysis, plus Apple, AMD, CMG, Netflix, NVIDIA, Qs, Tesla, and Snapchat. Lots to cover today, so let's go ahead and get started. For my analysis, I'm using the 30-minute chart and the Heikin Ashi. The Heikin Ashi helps me smooth out the trend, makes it a lot easier for me to see directionality and momentum. Here's your regular candlestick. Here's your Heikin Ashi. Candlestick, Heikin Ashi. Again, you can see it's just a lot easier to see momentum. I'm pairing that with the MACD. The MACD is just a wonderful indicator, again, an extra momentum indicator. The two Heikin Ashi and MACD combo creates what I call probability stacking. When they both confirm, you have a lot more confirmation of your trade. Okay, so what we know from all of our trading and testing here at Wall Street AO is that when the MACD is crossed the bulls and trending higher, we have larger bullish momentum cycles. And when the MACD is crossed the bears and trending down, we have larger bearish cycles and smaller bullish ones. And so I like to use this as a main confirmation for my trading and how I'm basically doing my covered call and income trades. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking right now for the stock. We hit our head today at $140. So if we can get back above that level tomorrow, I think we're going to form another big upcycle, possibly up to 145, 150, and then maybe 155 or 160. So I'm essentially looking for the stock to fill this area all the way up in here. And I know it would be a big move, but we got to get above and stay above that $140 area first. Now, I'm big into programmatic trading, creating if-then scenarios, really kind of covering both of my sides here. So on the downside, here's what I'm watching. If the stock fails here at 140 and continues to get rejected, and ultimately tomorrow, if we break 137.50, this MACD on the 30-minute is going to cross to the bears, and I'm thinking we're going to see some downward pressure down to 135, and ultimately $130 would be support. If that happens, we're going to be breaking this channel support here to the downside. Okay, so have some caution and watch out for that. Again, my two levels, upside break of 140 is bullish, downside break below 137.50 is bearish. Currently, long stock, selling calls in this area. It's been working great because SpaceX has very juiced up option premium. Okay, next up, I want to watch Tesla. I also really like Tesla here, forming a nice support at $350. However, if this support breaks to the downside, we're breaking a double support area where we have both a horizontal support coming in with a diagonal. That would put the next level of support down at $340. I also really like the MACD on this one on the 30-minute. You can see it just does a wonderful job helping us identify when we're going to get these nice upswings. If you watched my video from a couple days ago, we essentially called this big $20 move all the way to the top of the channel. Now it's reversed and now just basically compressing sideways. So the level I'm watching currently on Tesla is 350. If we can hold above it, it's sideways to up. Below 350, watch out below. Okay, so next I'm going to hop over to the daily chart. You know, we've got about 1,000 clients here at Wall Street AO, and on Monday I host a live stream for everybody in our group. Somebody asked me here about AMD on Monday, whether it was a good shorting opportunity, and essentially my thoughts were the stock was kind of just sideways, and I don't like to short after it's already moved for so many days in a row. If anything, it's still kind of just sideways. Now today we got a little bit of a recovery in the semiconductors, so both AMD and NVIDIA made a nice bounce. I'm also watching the MACD. It's kind of sideways down here, and if this thing can cross the bulls, we've been compressing and pulling back for a while. Essentially, AMD is forming a giant base here, so as they say, the longer the base, the higher the space. So as long as AMD can hold $450, I think it's sideways to up and could eventually form a giant bounce. However, if it breaks 450, watch out below. Now, one of the things I'm tracking really closely is how many days in a row these stocks cycle. Essentially, the more days in a row, the easier it is to swing trade. When I look at AMD, what do I see? I see a lot of chop. And one of the things that we actually built into our DOJI screener, which finds those perfect little DOJI moments, is we built in, let's see, current stock, how many days in a row it has for an average cycle. So currently AMD only cycles for about 3.2 days in a row. Now I want to compare this to this next stock, which is CMG. Look at this. It cycles for almost 4 days in a row. Now I know 3.2 and 3.9 might not seem like a lot, but you tell me. Here's CMG. Look at these beautiful momentum cycles. Which stock do you think is easier to trade, AMD or CMG, right? I think CMG is a better swing trading stock right now. Not to mention, it's a lot more affordable here at only $37. Now, it's obviously overextended here, but it's got wonderful cycles. And as a trader, it's our job to catch these natural cycles. And so you got to ask yourself, am I doing this the easy way? Or am I doing it the hard way? And a lot of that has to do with which stock you trade to begin with. Okay, next up, I want to cover Netflix. Now, Netflix is in what I call an accumulation phase, and there's a very tight pace of accumulation. And you can see that because of how tight this channel is. I want to highlight this and something I shared with the group on Monday. Look how tight the channel is on Netflix. Okay, this is essentially the pace that it's being accumulated. This is very interesting to me because essentially as soon as it gapped down here on earnings, it's been off to the races ever since. This looks to me like institutional buying, and they don't want to buy too much all at once because it would make the stock go up too fast. So they're buying little bits at a time, messing with people, but you can see how tight this channel is. This reminds me a lot actually of something that happened. This wasn't on my list, but I'm going to show you here, of something that happened in Meta a few years ago. Check this out. Okay, look at this. I've got it highlighted already. This is perfect. Look at this. Look how tight this channel was on Meta. This is a great case of institutional accumulation. You can see it wasn't going up too far. It wasn't going down too far. It was holding nice and tight. And I think that's where Netflix is right now. Okay, next up, I want to cover the Qs. Okay, now the Qs made an interesting bounce today. More importantly, they formed a doji. So whenever we see these dojis here on the daily Heikin Ashi, it's a moment of indecision and compression. We can use it essentially as a break up or a break down. Okay, so with the Qs, if we can get above and stay above the high of this doji at 714.5, we're very likely going to form a new bullish cycle, probably to retest the highs. However, if the doji breaks to the downside, I wouldn't be long. I'd be in cash or potentially thinking about shorting technology because we're probably moving down for a new cycle. The doji is this magic moment right between the expansion cycle. So you have compression, expansion, compression, expansion. That's what the doji marks. That's actually why we created this screener right here called the doji screener to help us find these incredible opportunities, which I think are the greatest trades that you can put on. Okay, next up, I want to cover Snapchat. So Snapchat had a big move today. I heard everybody on the interweb talking about Snapchat. People were even saying, why doesn't Apple buy Snapchat? Why isn't this company being acquired down here at the levels? It's made a nice move today, big move to new swing highs. In my view, as long as it holds above 575, it's bullish, okay? And its MACD is bullish. Check that out. Crossing to the bulls. Let's take a look on the weekly. Weekly has already crossed the bulls on the MACD, making a nice little breakout. Again, if 575 holds, I'd be looking for 6.25 and maybe even higher. Their fundamentals I was researching, it's not a lot to write home about. You can see they're making a little bit, they're losing a little bit. Look at their actual EPS here, -10, -5, +3, +6. It's not like this company is really crushing. Let's compare this again to Meta. This is my second time comparing Meta, right? Meta, look at the EPS on Meta. Amazing, right? It's 8, 10, huge EPS numbers. Now, I think one of the reasons why Meta has been kind of falling flat is look at this last one at 6. It came in really short. And when I look at this number, what is it similar to? Where we're going back to the kind of earnings this company had in Q3 of 2024. Okay. Now I've already highlighted here where the company was Q3 of 2024, right here. So guess what? Same earnings, same price. That's where we're at right now. We need this company to lift its earnings in order for it to really start to gain traction. Okay. I think I covered just about everything here. except for, did we do Apple? One last one here on Apple. Yesterday, we had shared with everybody that we had the DOJI on Apple. Very interesting. We came to the top of the DOJI today. We failed. We sold off. Currently, it's kind of sideways to bearish. As long as it's below 313.5, the stock is sideways to down. The MACD on Apple is basically pinching. Now, one thing I want to kind of leave everybody with here is September. September's right around the corner. Now, we might get another small bounce for the next week between now and September, but we've got this great seasonality tool here that basically shares with us the best months of the year and the worst months of the year for ETFs and stocks. September's historically a bad month for Apple. And when we look at the Qs, it's the worst month of the year for technology. When we look at the SPY, it's the worst month of the year for the S&P 500 as well. So a little bit of caution coming into the end of August. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. We covered a ton of stuff. Follow along if you want my daily updates. I'll be filming more of these. This is Michael Lamar from Wall Street AO, and I'll see you in the next video.